What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor, Fightful.com, FightfulWrestling.com. Head over there, get all your wrestling, MMA, boxing news. Lots of cool stuff over there, lots of exclusives as well. WWE is facing a lot of pressure from senators, among other politicians, to pause, cancel, or just otherwise alter their WWE Crown Jewel event, which is set for early November. And there are some major political implications as a result. I mean, this situation has really expanded beyond the criticism in which WWE received earlier in the year for Greatest Royal Rumble, beyond just what political issues became known because of WWE's presence there, that being that women could not perform there. Things have gotten a lot wilder since then, and WWE is making a lot of money off of this deal. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen. Here's the article as it appears on Fightful.com. It says WWE plans to run their second event of the year in Saudi Arabia in just a couple of weeks at Crown Jewel. The event features heavy hitters like The Undertaker and John Cena and will pull Shawn Michaels out of a retirement that has lasted over 8 years. However, WWE is being zeroed in on after journalist Jamal Khashoggi disappeared and was allegedly murdered at the Saudi consulate in Turkey. Now, Khashoggi is a Saudi Arabia-born journalist and former editor of the Saudi Al Watan newspaper, who became a permanent resident of the U.S. and was an outspoken Washington Post columnist. He would often criticize the regime of Saudi Arabia and was in Turkey to finalize his divorce so he could marry his fiancée. Turkey claims that they have evidence that he was tortured and murdered. This situation has led to Viacom, the New York Times, CNN, CNBC, Bloomberg, and many others to withdraw from the Saudi Future Investment Initiative conference after they were set to serve as sponsors. Now, WWE is facing pressure from several senators to make a change, cancel, or even pause the Crown Jewel show, which is set for November 2nd at the King Saud University Stadium in Riyadh. A quote from Senator Chris Murphy to IJR said, quote, "This is a brazen assault on the freedom of the press and a slap to the face of the United States. If this murder occurred as it seems it did, I'd hope that they would be rethinking their relationship with the kingdom, especially with respect to events coming up in the next weeks like that." End quote. Senator Lindsey Graham said that there would be hell to pay if the Saudi government killed the missing journalist, and said that there should be a pause on WWE's behalf. Now, there's also a lot in which Donald Trump has to do with this as well. And Donald Trump, you got to remember, the guy's a WWE Hall of Famer. He is connected to the McMahon family. Linda McMahon is the administrator of the Small Business Administration. And he said while they don't like the situation, he doesn't want to ruin a $110 billion arms trade with Saudi Arabia for the fear that money would go to Russia or China instead. So that is another sense, maybe not so much pressure from a guy like Donald Trump, who has obviously put a price tag on this man's life. Love him or hate him, that's the situation in which is unfolded here. And WWE put a price tag on their morals a little bit earlier this year by accepting this amount of money, which we have been told may even go beyond WrestleMania numbers. Senator Bob Menendez said, quote, "Private enterprise is private enterprise, different than a governmental entity. But because Linda McMahon is a part of the president's cabinet, it falls into a gray area where the administration really should give it some thought and maybe even prevail upon them not doing it," end quote. I've spoken to wrestlers all throughout the year who were not comfortable going to Saudi Arabia due to a lot of the issues there. And then I spoke to others who contacted me to find out what kind of information we had about the financials, because this has been a hot topic among wrestlers, talking renegotiation, talking impending contract expirations, and what they should be asking for as a result, because WWE has 3 major additional revenue streams now, with the Fox deal and the USA deal really taking on advanced money, and then this deal taking off the way that it did. And they also have the Australia show, but that's not as a part of a 10-year deal as the Saudi Arabia shows are for WWE to come back and do a couple every year for just an absurd amount of money. Now, they did have a venue change recently. They went from King Fahd to a university stadium, which essentially cut the potential audience in a third. They went from a 65,000 seat venue to a 25,000 seat venue. And WWE just announced that change last week when Fightful.com contacted them with those news. WWE, here's the ultimate situation. WWE has stockholders to answer to that want money, but also they have major corporate sponsors to answer to as well. There is a major conflict on WWE's behalf of this situation. I spoke to a WWE wrestler who says, I tend to believe that they will go there. And then another said that they'd be surprised if the event went along as planned. Now, it's important to say that because the person that I talked to said would be surprised if it went along as planned. Didn't say, oh, we'll never go there. Didn't say the event won't happen. Didn't say the show will just take place somewhere else. Just said wouldn't go along as planned. Now, this was just a couple of guys riffing and speaking on the situation, but definitely major political implications here for WWE, Saudi Arabia, crown jewel. And it's definitely not going to go it's not going away. Here's the beautiful Fightful.com. Check it out for all kinds of wrestling, MMA, boxing news. Hey, you just want wrestling? Click this wrestling tab up here. You get all your wrestling stories, exclusive results, events, features. We have the Pro Series where you hear from wrestlers. You have our newsletter every week as well. Thank you, guys. Until next time, subscribe, like, thumbs up, and visit Fightful.com. We are out.